So let's talk about Fishbone, The Reality of My Surroundings. This comes out in 1991. I know you're a massive Fishbone fan. I know Fishbone plays into the Salads history for different reasons. So can you share, I guess, how you first got into Fishbone?
Oh, it's probably through the other guys in the Salads, I think. It's probably through Dave Z and Davey Sommerfeld. And it was funny. We didn't, I guess they play ska music, sort of like the Specials do, and they play a lot of ska and hard rock and stuff, but I didn't even know that was a genre. I just thought they were awesome. And it was sort of like the Police. I had no idea. So the Salads were playing ska, but we were like, no, we're playing, why is it called ska? We're just playing like the Police and we're playing like Fishbone. What are you talking about? Right. And then we started to learn the hard way as the guys in their black and white suits would give us the thumbs down because we would play rock and stuff. But yeah, I fell in love with Fishbone as a little kid. The Salads guys used to stand outside of like Kingswood Music Theater to get our Truth and Soul records autographed by the guys in Fishbone and stuff like it was just they were just a childhood. We loved them. And then like you're saying, we were connected through the Salads with them. Our manager, RJ Guha, in the 2003 for our first couple records, we he was connected to them through the Look People. The band The Look People had played some shows with Fishbone, and he managed The Look People as well, which was a big, I don't know if we remember who the Look People are, but the Chili Peppers had him on stage with them at Lollapalooza and stuff like that. Kevin Hearn from Bare Naked Ladies played in the Look People. Um, but he ended up getting us on Fishbone tours, and then it turned into Fishbone being on Salads records and becoming friends with the guys in the band and things like that over time. So it's another one of those sort of manifesting things. But I yeah, started listening to them as a kid, just thought it was heavy and awesome and cool. Their first record they made in high school, right? I don't know if you know a whole lot about Fishbone, but they were the very first group of black kids that were integrated into the white high schools in Los Angeles and into Hollywood. So they were getting bussed in to these all white high schools during a really volatile time, which we obviously still haven't gotten ourselves out of yet. We're still trying to figure it out. Um, but they apparently started that band because, well, everybody's already scared of us. Let's just scare them some more. And so they just started a band in high school, and I don't know. It's everything the Salads do is sort of we're kind of copying Fishbone. So many bands copy Fishbone. It's like a helmet where they are the birth of tons of things. Gwen Stefani will say she's always just copied Angelo Moore from Fishbone. She wins all these awards for her style, but she's like, I'm just copying Angelo. I'm just trying to look like Angelo. Um, and there's so many of us like that, right? And that's um, we all wish we could sound like Fishbone, but we never will because we'll never be that good.
See, I always assumed they got together, late 80s, early 90s, but it was 1979 when they started in high school, like you
Their
mentioned.
first record with um, oh my gosh, we played the song with Angelo in Cleveland at Warp Tour. I can't believe I can't dancing to the skanking to the beat, 13 skanking to the beat. That's on their first record, right? They recorded that in high school. They were high school students. That record was made when they were teenagers. And it's like out of control, amazing. Like there's as teenagers, they're better than most bands still coming out now, right? Like it's it's pretty amazing. And everybody robs from them. Everybody borrows from them. The Chili Peppers borrowed from them. The Primus borrowed from them. We borrowed from them. They're sort of a jumping ground for all sorts of bands out there. And Reality of My Surroundings was the first like major label, like huge major label release for them, possibly. It's how it felt because it's when they did all the great big huge Lollapalooza tours they got on, all of that stuff. And that's when they really unleashed some heavy, like groovy metal tunes. And the Sunless Saturday is on that. Fight the Youth, the very first tune on that, is heavy as can be. All songs that I would use for teaching guitar lessons too. So
Yeah, this is like you mentioned. So this is the band's third album. There's 18 songs, so it's like a monster
well,
listen.
there's a bunch of little short live things if
There's
I
about
were
five
yeah.
little 30-second clips, but there's three singles. You just mentioned two of them. So Fight the Youth, Everyday Sunshine, and Sunless Saturday. And I was going to say, it's funny you mentioned RJ Guha. He was my teacher in college. So I took entertainment business management, and he taught me, I think it was like the booking agent portion or
That's what
concert
he would have done. Yeah,
promotion
because he
or
used to work
marketing. It was something
for
like that. So I know RJ. It's funny you mentioned
yeah,
him.
he used to work for Courage Artists in touring. So he was, yeah, before I think we were one of the first bands that he decided to try to manage. Um, because yeah, he was well known in the booking agent world. Yeah. And he booked a lot of little quirky bands, like he would do Buckethead and Fishbone and things like that. So
So you were talking about Fishbone. You were saying, when you first started listening to them, it was ska. So I didn't know Fishbone that well before diving into this album. And I always just thought they were straight ska. But as I'm listening to this and I hear songs like Behavior Control Technician, Fight the Youth, Sunless Saturday, these are like metal songs. So I thought they were
oh
just
yeah.
the kind of the upstroke ska. I'm hearing like metal, and I was like, I did not expect that. So
Oh,
they must be just
there's some
across the
records.
spectrum genres.
Absolutely. It's where the salads come from, right? We're just borrowing from Fishbone. And that's what I mean. It's like all these bands are doing this now, but there were a few bands that did it first, right? And they're one of those bands. And it made them impossible to categorize at a time when record companies needed to fit you into a category. Um, there were also black rock band. It's amazing. Lenny Kravitz has been talking a lot about this recently, right? And same
I
with
just saw that. Yeah.
it's great that Lenny's talking about it because it's interesting to hear Lenny talk about the not being invited to the BET awards and things like that, because all of a sudden it made me realize, oh my God, Lenny Kravitz is black. it, it like it, it's funny how my brain never, because of the way we categorize music and people, and there are all these rock bands that are some of the best bands that have ever existed. And rock and roll started with black musicians too. So it's so crazy that these don't get included in that world. And it's all like white kids that like it, right? Like,
Yeah.
and
Like
Fishbone,
Living Color and Fishbone and
Living Color, yeah, because Corey Glover came out and wrote a statement. It says, no, Lenny Kravitz is right.
yeah.
He's exactly right. Look at what we've done. Look what we've been invited to do, but look who never invites us, right? Um, why not? Right? Like, and also the thing that's remarkable about it, I don't know if you paid attention to the lyrics on The Reality of My Surroundings, like the whole record, right? Or they're do housework, all these different tunes. The title of the record, The Reality of My Surroundings. It's all, it's about that world. Here I am, this black musician in this rock and roll world. I don't fit in. And here's the history, right? Here it is. There's all these sort of slave driving songs. They're so brutal. There's some brutal stuff on that record, but it was a big, huge pop album. And when we toured with them, I know it was a constant thorn in their side too. And it was a constant argument. Our first tour we did with them, they had recently recorded the album on Hollywood Records that had Gwen Stefani on it and all sorts of other celebrities that love that band. Um, and the songs were beautiful and really commercial and ready to just go anywhere. And all these huge artists on the album said, "Hey, we'll all be in videos with Fishbone," and the record company was like, "Nah, it's not worth our time," or whatever, and they just kind of shelved it. And it was probably one of the best records they ever made, and had all of these people trying to show the world who they were, and the record company is like, "Eh, doesn't fit into this thing, right?" And yeah, it's a crazy thing because yeah, they're the bands we all grew up copying are all sort of beyond Van Halen and the Police are all they're all the black rock bands. We were copying Living Color and we were copying Fishbone, right? And 24/7 Spies. And that's what Darren Pfeiffer did last night. There were guys from 24/7 Spies playing, the Bad Brains guys were playing, Fishbone guys were playing. It's this genre of music that just crushes everything else, and gave birth to all these other things, but has this deep rooted oppression too. It's been oppressed because it's black musicians playing rock and roll music and heavy metal, right? Stay in your lane. Well, when did that ever become a white person's lane? Because it was really, wasn't it Elvis stealing it too, right? Like it's sort of, I don't feel qualified to even talk about this stuff, but it's really interesting. And I know that we've all been um, partial to the groove that Fishbone can create. Like on a tune like Fight the Youth or Sunless Saturday, and then everything that a band like Living Color does, where it's like hard rock, but um, they're playing in a certain pocket and a certain type of groove that we always wanted to achieve, and we never seemed to be able to get there. And we started trying to do it digitally with Pro Tools, right? Like shifting the where Darren would be singing or pulling the bass just like a hair further back because I was always a little bit forward or something. And we were like, oh my God. And we started calling it Bro Tools because it was making us sound more like all these black rock bands that we loved. We're like, maybe we're not physically capable of this. So we have to create it inside of the digital world, right? So anyhow, yeah,
And
it's a long, crazy thing, and it's really interesting to see Lenny talk about it because Lenny is the one really huge internationally known radio hit artist
he
from that world.
still has challenges with that.
Oh, and he's so awesome looking, eh? And stuff like he's just a rock star, and so it's like it's great that he's talking about it. It's something that's hard to get a voice out about it. There's a Fishbone movie. I think it was on Netflix. I'm not sure if it is anymore, but someone made a whole documentary about Fishbone, and it's full of people like Flea and different musicians like that all say we were all just copying Fishbone. And they were the band that were supposed to be big. And it's been really unfair because we are when we were just copying them. And then it goes from these clips of them touring Reality of My Surroundings in front of massive crowds. And then it'll go quickly to a clip of them now in like Germany playing on a stage, and there's like 10 people sitting in wheelchairs, like 20 feet back, that are kind of paying attention, and it's this really weird world that they exist in where I would say that with Van Halen, there's like Fishbone is one of the best rock bands that's ever lived and probably will ever live. But you got to go see them to figure that out. And you'll just be like, how are they doing this? Like, how do they have this much energy? And we would tour with them, and Angelo would keep a bucket of ice water at the back of the stage, like side backstage, so that he could run over there and submerge his head into it. And literally, when he would do that, we'd be standing there and it would go, and you'd see steam come out of the water, and he'd come up, whoosh, and he'd run back out, right? But it was just to cool himself down. Those guys take turns doing front flips into the audiences, or yeah, I don't know. I think we all just are mimicking those guys.
So speaking of Flea, this is in the year 2000. This is 23 years ago. My dad surprises me with a road trip / camping trip, and the destination was from Ottawa to Saratoga Springs, New York. And the climax of all of this was a triple bill concert in Saratoga Springs, New York. The headliner, Red Hot Chili Peppers, the middle band, Stone Temple Pilots, and the opener, Fishbone. So
Yeah, there you go.
When I was 15, my dad took me. I don't know how he knew that Chili Peppers were cool and Fishbone was cool and SDP were cool, but that's where he brought me. So I saw Fishbone when I was 15, 23 years ago. So
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I
thanks,
had
Dad.
a Fishbone are one of those bands. It's crazy. We had a moment where we went to all of the whole band of the Salads went to go see Fishbone. It was before we knew any of them. We just were going to shows, and we went to some show, and it was a Halloween show in Toronto. They were playing some big event, and the entire band of the Salads, we all dressed up as Buckethead, who played guitar in Guns N' Roses, so people know who he is kind of
He's
now. But
got the KFC
wears a
chicken
KFC
bucket.
bucket on his head and a white mask and a raincoat. He's supposed to be horror. He was just like a solo guitar player that we all listened to. But we all dressed up as Buckethead, except for our singer in the Salads at the time. This was before Darren Dumas was in the band, before Mr. D. So our singer Davey Sommerfeld. So this would have been around 1998 or something. Um, and he dressed up as Colonel Sanders. And so he dressed up as Colonel Sanders, and we all dressed up as Buckethead. And we went to the show, and we were standing right in front of the stage, all as Buckethead. And the guitar player at the time was a guy named Spacey T. And he was playing guitar, and he looked at us, and he started laughing, and he winked, and he flipped his guitar over. And on the back of his guitar was a great big huge sticker of Buckethead, which was so crazy. And then Angelo invited Colonel Sanders, Davey Sommerfeld, our singer, on the stage, and they skanked face to face. And so Angelo, face to face with Colonel Sanders, who looks like a Southern, like a man from the past, like a white guy, like it's just this imagery on stage. And they were skanking and dancing so hard together up there. It was amazing. Yeah, that was a pretty cool memory.